It's Monday, March 16th, 2020. So here we go again. Markets decimated today. Dow Jones down 3,000 points. You and I are watching these markets collapse right before our very eyes. And what's even more amazing is what took place over the weekend. Federal Reserve comes out and officially announces quantitative easing 5 with $700 billion. Also, Federal Reserve comes out this weekend and cuts rates to 0. Last week, we saw $1.5 trillion of repo injections. So here we are today, Monday, March 16th, 2020, with all the repo injections, quantitative easing 5, 0% interest rates. And here we are today, markets collapsing. Dow Jones down 3,000 points. So now what? What are they going to do now? No doubt we're going to negative rates. Question is, how far negative are we going to go? How much more money will they print? Problem is, these markets are not responding to the artificial injections like they once did. The Fed's worst nightmare has just come to fruition, and they are in very, very big trouble here. In fact, the whole country is in big trouble. If they cannot figure out a way to get out of this situation, we've got very, very big trouble. And at the end of the day, no matter what they figure out, however they do it, it's going to create massive debt. And at some point, the bubbles, no matter what they do, are going to pop. And I think right now we're starting to see that take place. I think the Fed has lost control, and this is why you need to be prepared. This is why you better be out of the system. You better not be dependent on this system, because I think they have lost control. How much more damage are we going to see? I think it could be quite a bit. Look, this whole thing has been propped up for years and years and years, built up on nothing more than debt, on optimism, on fake data, on corporate buybacks, on 0% interest rates. We are right back. In fact, we're in a much worse place than we were in 2008. We are looking at a 1929 moment coming that, in fact, is going to be much worse than 1929. Going to last a lot longer than 1929. So it's really a time where you better really be paying attention to what's going on. I ran some errands today in my area. I was in downtown Palm Springs, California, and I was really shocked at what I saw. Normally at this time of year, there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of people walking around, the restaurants are packed. I drove down close to noon today in downtown Palm Springs on Palm Canyon. There was barely any foot traffic. There was parking spots opened everywhere. Nobody was sitting outside on this beautiful sunny day. Nobody sitting outside having lunch. It was shocking to see. I mean, I've not seen downtown Palm Springs that vacated for a very, very long time. And this is our season. March is probably one of the busiest times of the year for us. And, you know, I'm just thinking, how are the restaurants going to make it? How are the people who have bills to pay that work at those restaurants? The people working at resorts, the people in the little stores. How are these people going to survive? If these people do not have a cash reserve put away, if they don't have something to fall back on, they're in big trouble. Bottom line, you know, out here in my area, we have the biggest tennis tournament in the world, the BNP. That was canceled. We've got the biggest music events, Coachella and Stagecoach, postponed till October. So, I mean, so many people reliant on these events, and now they're not here. And we know statistically that 80% of this country is living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of this country is surviving on credit cards. So when I see the devastation now that is taking place in this economy, the hotels, massive vacancies, the restaurants empty, the stores empty. These people have credit card bills to pay. They got car payments that they have to make. They have rent payments, mortgages, medical bills. what is going to happen to these people? And this is just, a small area, just a small factor of the equation here. This is happening all over the United States of America. It's happening all over the world, in much bigger cities. But I'm just, talking about what I'm seeing in my environment here, and I'm sure many of you are. Many of you have been writing me directly and telling me about layoffs. Either you've been laid off, people at your work have been laid off, there's cutbacks. A lot of people saying that they've had their hours cut. I know people personally who have had their hours cut. I know people personally, family members, who have lost their jobs because of what is happening right now. And it is unfortunately going to get much worse. And this is why I've been saying for a while, it is time to hunker down. You don't need a big house. You don't need to buy a house. You don't need a big car. You don't need to lease a car. You need to hunker down. It's all about being small now. Getting small, meaning small overhead, small amount of bills, small debt. It is about being small. We are going to have to evolve or adjust with this economy quickly because it's going to turn real quick many times. And, if you're too big, meaning you got too many bills, too much debt, your house is too big, you got, too many credit cards, this thing's going to drag you down. It is all about hunkering down and getting real small right now, being very versatile and very nimble. I just made a couple notes today. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on. Pulled out a few articles that I thought were interesting that I want to share with you. Again, I'm really, really concerned about my fellow Americans and people that are going to be hurt by this. I know that the government now is talking about sending everybody $1,000. That is going to do absolutely. Listen, you send me $1,000, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go buy some gold and silver with it. That's what I'm going to do with it. But I mean, honestly, for the average person in America, $1,000, what is that going to do? People are getting obliterated right now. I mean, people are losing jobs. $1,000 is going to do nothing. It's going to be a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound because the amount of economic damage this is going to do to an individual or to a household is going to be so substantial. What they should do is just cut everybody's taxes for a year. Let's not pay taxes for 1 year, income taxes. Give everybody a break because $1,000, I mean, that's barely making somebody's car payment today. So, couple articles today. Zero Hedge. I thought this was an interesting one. VIX closes at record high as S&P breaks critical trendline support. And in this article, it gives the biggest percent losses since 1926, which I thought was pretty interesting. If we go back to October 19th of 1987, the S&P lost 20.4% that day. We go back to October 28th, 1929. S&P lost 12.9% that day. That was the beginning of the Great Depression back around that time. We go to today, S&P lost 11.98%. Historical. Dow Jones lost 3,000 points. That was the most points ever lost. But percentage-wise, S&P, third biggest loss in history. Dow Jones, 3,000 points, biggest point loss in history. Dow Jones was down close to 13% today. Real quick, somebody wrote to me last night, and I want to make this point, just talking about the devastation we are seeing. We keep being told that the banks are well capitalized. Somebody wrote to me last night and just said, hey, FDIC insures $96 billion here in the U.S. with U.S. bank accounts. But he brought up this point, but there are $13 trillion in total U.S. deposits. So think about that for a minute. I haven't verified this number, but I remember reading this a few years back, so I think it's pretty close. Think about that. How safe are you putting your money in a bank today? Think about that. And I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of people that all they did on Friday and today was to go and get their money out of the bank. And again, a lot of people in the comments down below, people writing me on Facebook, they're at their bank getting their money out. So I think we have a very low type bank run taking place right now in America that nobody's talking about. I'll tell you, I do not trust banks. Wolfstreet.com, S&P 500 plunged most since 1987, gave up 18 days. Gave up in 18 days the 42% gains of the past 3 years. Just closed the whole thing up. CNBC anchors melt down, beg for market closures on Twitter. You know, they never warned their viewers when the market was doing nothing but soaring to the moon, right? Which has gone on for over a decade. Nobody warned you. Nobody told you what could happen. Nobody told you that it was all based on corporate buybacks and low rates and repo injections and optimism and fake data. In fact, they dragged all the little mom and pop investors into these markets knowing that these markets were overvalued, that they knew that they were at all-time highs. And I think many of these people had to know that there was a lot of danger in these markets, but they ignored it. They just wanted to get all the suckers in these markets. And, you know, so many people got into these markets who should have never been, who are not savvy with these markets or economics. I mean, you are playing against algorithms, you're playing against supercomputers, and you're playing against some very savvy people in these financial institutions who have done nothing more than try to sucker people into the Ponzi scheme using these business analysts on television to tell you you're absolutely pretty dumb if you do not invest your money in these markets. Everybody's doing it. You should be doing it. If you're not, you're basically a loser. So they just enticed everybody into these markets. And now that there's a pullback, their solution is to own the shorts, shutting down the market entirely. Aren't you glad that all of you bought the dip? I'm sure that most of you were too smart to do that. I mean, just imagine 2 weeks ago, if you listened to them and you bought the dip, where you'd be today. These same people were trying to pump the market up last night, not knowing the carnage that we were going to see today. Dow Jones down a record 3,000 points. But if it doesn't go your way, okay, you just want to shut the markets down. I mean, so much for a free market. Let the market dictate where everything's going, right? If you don't like it, you just shut it down. But it's okay when it's going up and you're winning. But the minute you lose, the minute there's a correction, you want to just shut the whole thing down. You know, if you really want to instill panic, if you really want to see panic, if you really want to see bank runs, shut the markets down for a day. You want to shut them down for 2 weeks? You're going to see some real chaos here in America. You're going to see panic. You're going to see bank runs. You're going to see a meltdown. So, I mean, it's unbelievable what these people are saying on television. Really, really dangerous. Another article here. Foreign banks dump treasuries for 17th straight month, continue to massively buy more gold. And that's what I did yesterday. Look, I don't even care about the price. I am converting this fake fiat paper currency I have, while it still buys something, into hard tangible assets. Gold got pushed down again today. Silver slammed. But you know what? You're looking at premiums now in silver, $6 to $9 for Eagles. It's amazing. You cannot buy silver or gold today. I mean, you might be able to find it somewhere, but all the big dealers online are pretty much out, or they're going to be out this week from what they're saying. What's amazing is an asset like gold and silver that you cannot buy today is going down in price. So that just isn't, I mean, that's just weird, right? An asset that everybody is buying right now to the point that you can't buy it, it's going down in price. So again, I don't care. I just bought more. Silver to gold ratio, I think, is around 105 to 1 right now. So it's getting very tempting to go and buy, at least for me, to go buy some more silver because, I mean, it hit the 11s today. We saw silver crash to an $11 handle. I think it's, I don't know where it's at, somewhere in the low 12s right now. I haven't looked at it. But at these prices, it's very tempting to back up the truck and buy some more silver. But again, doesn't this make you question what is going on here when the banks are buying it, when you can't buy it anywhere, premiums are going up, the stock market is crashing, yet gold and silver are going down in value. Think about that. Rich people, this is an article right here on Bloomberg. Rich people are raising cash from their art collections. Clients are wanting to free up cash for investment opportunities or to offset the cost of margin calls after borrowing against stock holdings. Lenders are offering 40 to 50% loan to value on art. Some clients want the safety and have readily available capital even if they don't need it right now. And this is interesting because this means, and these are the top 0.0001%, selling art between $1 and $4 million. They see a credit freeze coming and they want to have capital. So these people are putting up their art as collateral in order to borrow cash so that they can capitalize on the sales, or just to have cash reserves just for the safety of having some cash. Because again, the credit freezes are coming. So let's go from art to ketchup. Another article today, liquidity panic reaches Staples. Kraft Heinz to fully draw down $4 billion revolver. So from the art market to the ketchup market, they are grabbing as much cash as they can before it is locked out as banks go into cash conservative mode. We are going to see credit freezes. The top 0.001% who can afford multi-million-dollar art know it. Kraft Heinz knows it. Kraft Heinz is preparing for a storm. That is going to be a massive depression. People are grabbing the cash right now because they know they're not going to be able to borrow it later. The banks are going to tighten up and they know that there is a liquidity crisis taking place. So while the average Joe Blow is drinking beer and watching Netflix tonight, maybe playing video games or whatever they're doing, the elite, the people who are savvy to these markets, they know what's coming. Credit freezes, a depression, economic collapse. Cash is going to be hard to get. A liquidity crisis is taking place, and people and investors and corporations are preparing for it. Another article today, hotels and casinos along the Las Vegas Strip are closing their doors due to this infection. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, and now it is happening in Vegas, and this is going to be catastrophic for Nevada, for Las Vegas, for the workers. MGM International, which owns Bellagio, MGM Grand, the Mirage, and several other resorts, announced Sunday it is temporarily suspending operations of all its Las Vegas properties. Wynn Resorts will also close Wynn Las Vegas and its Encore properties starting tomorrow for 2 weeks. Tens of thousands of workers now in Las Vegas are not working. This town is going to lose massive, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not into the billions of dollars, with tens of thousands of people not working. And again, how do these people pay their rent, their mortgage, their car payments, their credit card payments, food, just the necessities, healthcare, an emergency? This is why it is so imperative that we all continue to prepare. For so many people, for millions of people, it is already too late. Over the weekend, I'm watching the news. I'm seeing people literally fight over toilet paper. It's just insanity what we're watching take place. A full-blown economic meltdown is going to be much worse than this infection. And as I'm watching the news, I'm watching people out there in the real world buying toilet paper. And this should tell you something right now about the mentality of people here in America. We don't need to be worrying about toilet paper, okay? If you really know what's going on, if you're watching videos like this, if you're watching videos of other people who are just really doing the best that they can to wake people up, people who are really connected with reality, toilet paper isn't going to save you. You better be stockpiling security. brass, water, food. People are absolutely lost. They've been watching reality TV for years. They've been watching cartoons. They've been watching Netflix. They've been watching football. And now they're panicked, right? So as I've always said, sometimes you have to make a sacrifice in life. So while everybody's having the good time, drinking beer, smoking their marijuana, playing video games, watching cartoons, not giving a care in the world, sometimes you got to step back and really look at what is happening. And really, sometimes you got to put some skin in the game. These people didn't want to care about anything. They wanted to live in their little bubbles. They just wanted to play their little video games. They just wanted to drink and have a good time and watch reality TV and pretend that they're reality TV stars. And they wanted to post everything on social media about, where they're eating, what kind of shoes they're buying, what kind of car they're leasing, where they're taking their vacation. All this on credit cards, by the way. All of these people are now going to be even bigger debt slaves than they are now, because they couldn't get out of the matrix. They didn't want to get out of the little bubble. They wanted to stay nice and safe in their little bubbles, in their little fake worlds of Facebook and social media, and just believe that nothing bad could ever happen. Their little bubbles couldn't be popped, and that their little plastic credit cards would last forever. Well, reality's coming to America, ladies and gentlemen. Los Angeles Times today. As infection grows, gun sales are surging in many states, especially in states most affected, such as California, New York, and Washington. There's been an uptick in sales in less affected states also. No surprise, people are watching the news or watching videos, so we're seeing sales surging across the U.S. I can vouch for this. I went to a local gun store today. As you know, I did a video over the weekend where I mentioned I was at another store in the high desert. I couldn't even get in the door, quite literally. So I went to a local store today. I had an optic that went down on one of my rifles, so I figured I'll just run over there, pick one up, open the door, and I literally could not move. The store was filled to capacity. It's a very big store. I've never seen that amount of people in that store ever. So I ended up leaving, ordered it online. But, it raises a question. How come people are waiting till now to prepare? I mean, the number one asset, as all of you know, is security, right? I mean, if you cannot protect your water and food and your gold and silver, you can't protect your family, what good is having any of this if you can't protect it? So security is the number one asset. And here people are now today, during work hours, by the way, this is early afternoon, and the store is filled to capacity, and people are now just preparing. And again, this is the mindset of America, that they'll wait till the last minute, till something bad happens, to prepare. And so, I'm going to keep making these videos, keep telling you to continue to prepare. But if you're not prepared by now, it's probably already too late. Remember, you don't need security till you do. You don't need that dry food, that emergency food, or that water until you do. The time to prepare isn't now, it was yesterday. And here's the typical American. They're going to take a break from reality TV and video games and cartoons and start to prepare. Look, many of those people are going to walk out of that store with nothing, because they're going to get up to the counter and they're going to tell you it's sold out. Come back, in a couple weeks. Ammo sold out. Just like many of these food companies, they're sold out. It's just amazing how dumbed down and conditioned people are, that they just sat on the sidelines watching everything that you and I have been watching for years and ignoring it. And now people want to start to prepare. And look, I'm not saying don't prepare. If you're one of these people watching today that hasn't prepared, do whatever you can do to get prepared. Hopefully that there'll be a miracle and this market will rebound, or temporarily rebound, and it will buy you some time. Because I'll tell you what, if it rebounded tomorrow and rebounded the next day, people will get complacent immediately. You and I will not get complacent. We know what's at the end of this road. They could bring this thing back and everybody's going to forget about the last couple weeks, except you're not going to forget it. I'm not going to forget it. Before I go, quick question. I want you to comment down below. I would love to know your opinion. Is the Fed going to go negative? Are we going to see negative rates here in 2020? I want to know what you think. Yes, no, and I want to know, when do you think the Fed is going to take us negative? So again, question, are we going negative? Are we going to see negative rates here in America in 2020? And if so, when? Love to know your opinion. Please share this video. God bless every one of you. Keep preparing.